Cause you're listening to Jams and Tea, you won't see the show on your TV, so we talk about things musically. Cause you're listening to Jams and Tea, you're listening to Jams and Tea. Hello and welcome to the Mid Podcast, where you spin the jams and spill the tea. And today, the mid frequencies. And today we are talking about the front bottoms in Sickness and in Flames, the Pineapple Tree record.
I'm sorry,
the Pineapple Tree record.
Pineapple beef.
Did you do that on purpose?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That makes it so much better because
so
the delivery was flawless.
The porcupine thief.
The porcupine thief.
That sounds even better because they are thieving from Porcupine Tree.
Oh, that is true. How true.
I mean, they literally stole their drummer. So
yeah, literally.
They also stole fucking everything.
They stole
their
my
drummer
time.
and then they removed basically most of his drums.
Yeah, it's remarkable. In fact,
they stole a song by Brand New.
I
Daisy.
fucking knew you were gonna. Good
Well,
song. Good
one
song.
could argue that they stole an album title from the Talking Heads on this record for one of their songs, but
We don't need to get into that yet.
Oh, look, I have thoughts.
Yeah, so do I. So do I.
Anyway,
Anyways,
and
that's
for our
something
for our record club segment, which you'll have to listen to in a separate video, we're talking about the Violent Femmes self-titled album. Now let's start the segment.
Yeah, let's begin as we do by talking about things of interest that we have heard in the last 7 days that we aren't discussing formally. Jake, do you want to head us off?
Oh, of
And your
course.
dog?
Yep. Yep. He's just here. He's just sitting here.
Is he the one speaking at this moment in time?
That's him talking. We have remarkably similar
Hi,
vocal
Dad.
inflections. Oh,
I'll go get it later. Thank you.
Your dog, I
Yeah,
see,
Mr.
can also
Fine.
talk without opening its mouth.
oh yeah, very talented.
It can also talk in Saoirse's voice. Equally impressive.
Oh yeah. I listened to a lot of music. It's funny. Jake's. Yeah, I don't have a joke though. Okay, so one of the albums I have been spinning a whole lot recently is the 9 Inch Nails record, The Fragile, because I fucking love that album a whole lot.
Fragile.
It must be Italian.
I just threw the bottle into my teeth.
Oh,
You ever do that?
I've done that.
It's
Ah,
the worst
no.
sensation.
Yeah.
Never
That's a good one.
happens to
I
me.
think I think there's definitely a song about that on The Fragile.
August is straight edge. Confirmed.
Vegan straight edge hip hop.
Yeah, The Fragile is definitely
Anyway.
the best industrial rock album to ever feature a production credit for Dr. Dre.
Wait, does it actually?
It
Yeah,
does.
he does production on the song Even Deeper, I think.
Wow. Well, you learn something new every day, ladies and
Wait,
gentlemen.
industrial metal isn't vegan? Sorry, move on.
Yeah.
Chicken
First
isn't
of all,
vegan?
that joke didn't even. Anywho, yeah, The Fragile's probably my favorite 9 Inch Nails record. It was the Downward Spiral for years, but now it just the Fragile's
The Fragile,
fucking.
The Fragile is my second favorite industrial metal album after King Crimson's The Construction of Life.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Oh, that's good.
I
That joke
pictured
is-
this scenario
That
happening
joke is
in
for
my head.
no one outside of this.
No,
this podcast
no,
right
it's not. And
And maybe Zach will find it funny. He
uh,
watches
anyway.
this.
but after that, I did I did listen to it today technically, but I got this in the mail. Spiritualized, ladies and gentlemen, we are floating in space.
He's nuts.
So, love that record. I also listened to I guess I'll voice an unpopular opinion. I listened to lots of fucking records by bands I like.
Really?
One of them being a record I've never heard before, which is Soundgarden's Down on the Upside, which I thought was good.
It's a good album.
I like it's pretty highly rated, and a lot of people say it's like, some people I've even heard say it's Soundgarden's best, and I'm just kind of like,
No.
it's not. Like, it's a good album, don't get me wrong, but like,
Solidly their third best, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I'd say fourth, because I really, really like Louder Than Love. I think that's a really underrated album. But yeah, it's good. It's just like, I don't know what the hell went on with that record, but like the back half, awesome. Front half, it's alright.
Sure. We all know a record like that.
Yeah, we do.
So I guess Jake, you could say you were down on the upside of that
Shut
album.
up. Just no.
Louder Than Love is my favorite Placebo record.
Stop all immediately.
Also, no, it's not.
Louder Than Love is the best Smiths compilation.
Loud Like Love is a really good album, though. I mean, I almost
It is a really
totally,
good album.
It is.
Yeah.
and people think it sucks and they're stupid.
That's true. It does have my favorite Placebo song on it, but
Yes, because it makes you not
Cry.
really, yeah.
But I also listened to I listened to pretty much every release by the Menzingers yesterday, except for their EP Hold On Dodge, just because I needed to properly rank their albums for my favorite lists of all time. Came to a more interesting conclusion than I thought I did. But On the Impossible Past, my favorite punk rock album ever. That's my favorite. And my second favorite actually ended up being Hello Exile, which is their most recent. And I love that album. Partially has to do with it being one of the holy trio of albums that Jake listened to during the worst part of his life, along with Rustin Kelly's Dying Star and Phoebe Bridgers' Stranger in the Alps. But I really, really love that record. But After the Party is every bit as good as that album is. And it's just a terrific record, near perfect. And Rented World is not as good as my three favorite ones, just because it kind of lulls off like in like one particular song, but it's an exceptional record.
That's like your opinion, man.
I mean, look, they're
I have
varying
to say,
shades of the best.
it looks like Morgan is just drinking cough medicine, and I can't get over
Yeah.
Yeah, it does a little bit.
This is the same beer that we got when we watched Cabin Fever, except this is in like their old-fashioned bottles.
God, for people at home, we didn't watch just Cabin
Yeah.
Fever. We watched the Cabin Fever remake.
When we met up.
What a waste of time.
Yeah, I mean, no,
It was one of the greatest nights of my life.
Yes,
so.
it was.
Hmm.
That as well.
I can't fault you though. So.
Messinger's B-sides when?
Oh no, that's gonna happen one day.
I
Trust me.
mean, I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
It's going to be a B-sides with 4 members of this podcast.
And speaking of the number 4, the 4th album I will talk about will be, I'll say that I re-listened to an album I need to like just go back to more often, just because I forget how much I love it every time I listen to it, and that's Helplessness in the Blues by Fleet Foxes. Just the most beautiful neo-folk record that you ever did hear. It's so damn good and like weirdly uplifting at points. And you know, sometimes you just kind of need that music, something that's a bit more pleasant on the ears. And I will say that my last release, while pleasant on the ears, is not as pleasant on the soul. And it also segues into a recommended watch for people on this channel, is that I re-listened to Carrie and Lowell by Sufjan Stevens. The episode we have on his discography that Tyler and Saoirse did is up right now. We uploaded it just an hour ago as we record this. And I don't know what it was about that record, and I've always really, really, really liked it. But this listen, I just sort of put on my best pair of headphones and laid down in bed and listened to it, and I was just like, oh, good gosh, golly, I'm sad. And then I fully fell in love with the record properly, and it's a terrific album, and you should hear what Tyler and Saoirse have to say about it. I'm sure it's great.
Yep.
Go watch the first episode of the Jams and Tea podcast that I'm actually not in. So
stunningly, Carrie and Lowell was not the album that brought me to tears in Sufjan's discography while we were doing that video.
Interesting. I'll have to watch it.
You nearly brought me to tears. Fuck.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a heavy album.
Yeah. It was actually listening to it for that B-sides where I had always loved it, but it was the most recent listen for that podcast where I really fell in love with it.
Okay. Well, let's move swiftly along to August.
All right. So what I listened to this week was the last two Deftones albums. I'm not going to spoil my opinions on them yet, but you'll hear about that in an upcoming video.
I also did that.
Listened to an ambient krautrock classic. I know, shock revolve shocks.
Of course you did.
August Core.
Jean-Michel Jarre's Oxygen.
I love how you just butchered that artist.
I know that.
Title.
You think I wouldn't butcher that name? I had to go all the way with butchering.
Incidentally, another album that was all over my childhood as well. So I'm curious to hear what you thought of it.
Of course it was.
It's very good. I just adore so many of the pieces on it. Oxygen 4, 3, and 6 in particular stand out as just amazing pieces of work. It's an absolute must listen if you're into that kind of thing. I also listened to The Replacements' Let It Be, a fantastic album that was recommended to me by my dad.
Good taste. Good taste.
I listened to it while I was biking, actually, and it's just unbelievably fun to do. It's just such a kinetic, hilarious, and equally tear-jerking album. It's just what more could you want from it? It's the best album titled "Let It Be" by a long shot.
Definitely hard.
All right, let's not say long shot. Let It Be's good. I'm gonna stand up for Let It Be.
It's a long shot. Even if Let It Be is good, it's a long shot.
Not even forget about the other Let It Be. There are a few albums in general that have songs as good as "I Will Dare," fucking "Androgynous," "Unsatisfied,"
that's
"Senior
fair.
Video," "16 Blue," "Answering Machine." All those are some of the greatest songs.
I mean,
in rock music.
It clicks its heels for a brief second in the middle, but then it just picks right back up, and I'm like, yep.
There's only one bad song on Let It Be, and that's "Gary's Got a Boner." But pretty much every
I love that song.
If you were gonna say Black Diamond, I was gonna kick your ass.
No, Black Diamond's great. Let It Be, even though I don't particularly care for "Gary's Got a Boner," Let It Be is still a 10 out of 10 album for me.
No, it's amazing.
No, absolutely.
Gary's Got a Boner is funny.
No, that's why I love it. It's just funny.
I would just chip in here to say that on YouTube there exists a version of Androgynous featuring Laura Jane Grace, Miley Cyrus, and Joan Jett.
Well, Jesus Christ.
There's
Yeah.
only
That is a song that exists.
there's only one weak link there.
I wonder which
Morgan,
one.
how dare you slander Joan Jett? How
All
dare
right,
you?
don't you even imply that don't you
And
do
the
it.
final thing I listened to this week was a project I'm going to recommend you all go and listen to yourselves from our very own Saoirse with her project Saoirse and the Agenda.
Also listen
her
to.
new EP, Gender Dysphoria.
Yeah, it's about to say more like Saoirse and the Agender.
And it was pretty awesome. It's 10 minutes long. You have no excuse not to listen to it.
That's true.
Frenetic. It's just fast-paced, enjoyable. I mean, there's maybe some weaker mixing, but as a whole, it's just a project you should check out because it's worth your time. The songs are emotionally packed. They hit hard. It's great.
Yes.
Also listened to her first one.
Yes,
Nice.
both are great.
The first one, which August did amazing cover design for.
I did.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Thank
very
you.
good.
Also, listen to Glacier Flower.
Yeah.
Be better than me. Not hard.
God, Morgan is
Alright.
fucking
Well,
trashed.
Okay,
it's now
well,
your
on that
turn.
note, Morgan,
I
what
am
do you want to share what you've been listening to, if anything?
I'm not trashed. I'm just leaning into it. I'm having a good time. Have to make your own fun on this episode because God knows there ain't fucking anything else to talk about.
Oh god.
Oh, Lord, ain't that the fucking truth?
Oh, what the hell did I listen to? One of them was something that's quickly becoming a podcast favorite, which is the fucking Mahavishnu Orchestra and John McLaughlin,
Yeah.
The Inner Mounting Flame, and like holy good lord, it's real good.
It's so good.
So
It's like
good.
it just butters my biscuits. Ooh, it's good.
Ooh,
Um,
I gotta listen to their second one. I've heard that
It
one.
doesn't
got a
just
couple
butter
good
my
records.
biscuits, it invents butter and it invents biscuits.
yes, it's the fusion of the two that is so genius. Thus jazz fusion, thus progressive rock. What am I even talking about? Anyway, it's real good. Go listen to it. That's literally the only descriptor I need
No,
to give you.
listen to it.
Yeah. After that, I listened to Dream Theater's third album, Awake.
Mid.
It's everybody loves this record, and it's mid as hell, and
Yeah.
it makes me feel like a crazy person because I usually love the Dream Theater records that people love, but Awake is just so average. It's so average.
Not the first, not the last time we'll hear that today.
Well, it might actually be, but but speaking of which, I listened to the first Pineapple Thief record to feature Gavin Harrison because before that they probably make good music, but who gives a shit? Your Wilderness, and it's good. It's a whole lot better than the one we're covering today. But it's still it's just fumbles for an identity for 45 minutes and then ends. So I mean, like there's some really good guitar work on it. It sounds good. Some of the songs are pretty good, but it's just just go listen to Porcupine Tree.
I listened to their best album, Morgan, and I could say literally exactly everything that you just said about that one.
Oh well, that's fucking great to know. That's wonderful.
Just to like backstep a tiny bit. Morgan, did Dream Theater have any albums you like?
Oh my God.
Or properly really love even?
Morgan loves Dream Theater.
Okay.
I mean, let me count them.
Okay, sorry. I just wanted to check because I wasn't.
I
There's
am
so
the
many of
mid
these
Dream
bands
Theater
that are so
guy.
bombastic and like that kind of stuff that I lose track of which is which, and I really want to get into Dream Theater.
Images and words, my boy. Images and words.
Okay, so starting the list of albums that I love from Dream Theater is Images and Words, Metropolis Part 2, Scenes from a Memory, 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence, Train of Thought, Octavarium, and Distance Over Time. Those are just the only ones that I've heard that I don't love are Awake. They do have some clunkers as far as I know, but I haven't listened to those yet.
Okay, good to know. I will give Images and Words a listen.
Yeah,
sometime
that's-
soon.
Don't start with the astonishing, please. God, don't
No,
make the
God,
mistake
don't even
that I made.
don't even listen to the astonishing.
No, don't. It's not very good.
It's 2 hours long. It's 2 hours long.
Oh wow, it has like a 2.21 on Radio Music.
That was my first Dream Theater album, and I was like,
Oh,
nope.
God.
Okay, that explains a lot about your Dream Theater takes that you had for the longest time.
Jesus Christ, look at this.
Well, I also don't like
Oh,
Train of
it's
Thought. But
huge.
like,
You what?
you know this. You
I
know
know.
I don't care for that album. We
I'm-
talked about this.
You're right.
I
do
love
know that.
I'm on the comment box on Rim for the astonishing and like
Rim.
the most popular.
You gotta stop referring to that like when you're
Yeah,
speaking out loud.
Like 2 people have said this album is a comedic masterpiece.
That's true for like the first 5 songs, and then it's just boring.
Yeah.
Anyway, I digress. Back to you, Morgan.
That was a Pineapple Thief. That's what I left off on.
Yeah.
What, you forgot? I'm shocked.
Yes, I know. been reading a lot, so I've been listening to a lot of instrumental stuff. Oddtaker finds its way into there, but I don't want to talk about Oddtaker for the 50th time and what I've been listening to
That is
episode.
understandable.
So I just, I decided to throw on John Coltrane's "A Love Supreme" while I was reading, and I haven't listened to that record in a year and a half, maybe. I've since listened to a lot more jazz in that time, so with this listen, I've been able to fully appreciate just the magnitude of excellence that album slaps upon thee.
Yeah.
It's like the fucking Ricky Bobby quote, John Coltrane wakes up every day and he pisses excellence.
Where's the lie? Where is it?
No, but
It's
like
just-
Love Supreme is like seeing the face of God.
Yeah.
It's that good.
And the face of God is a black man.
Not
Take that,
surprised.
racists.
Jesus was not white.
Maybe that should be cut out. I'm not sure about that.
I'm very sure.
Well, fuck me,
Um,
I guess.
Continue, Morgan.
But yeah, I love Supreme. If it's like if you haven't listened to it, go and listen to it. Seriously, it's like required listening for music. But also, if you haven't listened to it, listen to like 5 John Coltrane albums that came out before that, because
Yeah.
I think
I've
I think
said
having a
this before,
background on the
actually.
artist. Yeah,
Because
that's
we
true.
are going to do a record club episode on his album Ascension, which is
Yeah.
absolutely by no means should that ever be the first Coltrane
yeah.
album for anyone.
I listened to
way.
that. I listened to that too for the first time. I would have included it if we weren't doing a record club on it. But
It's interesting.
don't start there.
It's interesting that we're doing that episode on Ascension pretty much like a couple of days aside from a 60th anniversary reissue of Giant Steps. So,
Giant Steps, it doesn't have to be your first Coltrane, but it's a perfect choice for a
well,
first
it was
Coltrane.
my
Really?
first.
It's also just perfect. So
It was
Yeah.
my first Coltrane, and I also have pre-ordered this reissue. Um,
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I'm probably going to talk about that
and
as like a preface.
I mean, I listened to everything's new album, Reanimator.
Yeah.
As
That
did
kind
I.
of goes, yeah.
But we're
We'll
not
talk
allowed to
about
talk
that.
about that yet.
And all I will say on it is I'm so glad it's not mid.
I know, right?
I'm just so glad. I mean, like I almost cried listening to it. Like, oh,
An opinion.
This week has held us fucking hostage, man.
Tell you what, I spent all day yesterday listening to that album and talking to people in the Everything fan base, and that album has been surprisingly divisive. So I'm very curious to hear everyone's thoughts when we discuss it next week.
I get that. I think I mean, Get to Heaven for me was a bit of a growing experience, but this has been an even more of a growing
Yeah.
experience than that.
That's fair.
Anyway,
Yeah.
anyway,
We'll save it.
who's next?
Yeah, Saoirse, you're next.
Right. I also listened to an Everything record called Get to Heaven again, which was excellent. You may remember from the B-sides we did on Everything, this was actually my least favorite record they've done. My rating of it has not changed. I appreciate No Reptiles way more, but I think my opinion that it essentially drops off in the second half, it is still true.
I just every time I hear that, it doesn't click.
I just
Bounces off me.
I mean,
it just makes
I'm
no
with her.
sense to me that someone can be on board with the first half of that album and not think that Blast Doors is as good, if not better, than the
because
songs
it's-
on the first
Because
half
the
of that
back
album.
half is better. The back half is
the
better
back
than the front
half
half.
might be better.
I
That's a
never said
hot
they were
take.
bad. If half a record is bad, I wouldn't say that it's excellent. You
Well,
know?
yes, I know that, but I mean,
I know we're just bigging it up, Saoirse, because we love this record.
and we're just raising our floor standard, you know.
Yeah, I get you.
We're also
Yeah.
injecting a bit of passion into this segment of the episode because, boy howdy, is that going to be absent later.
My
you know what, I
favorite
got
recurring bit so far is Jake continually bringing us back to the reality of what we're about to have to do.
You know what? I got a little bit of the liquid courage
It's like
in me.
Chinese water torture. Honestly.
I'll have some passion for you.
More like Chinese satellite.
Torture.
Are you okay? Are you?
No, I am never okay.
I listened to
Constant suffering.
I listened to that song again earlier today just to feel something. It was great.
I cried.
I did also listen to Punisher again this week.
I
because
did
of course
too.
I did. But that's not on my list.
I did not
Oh,
listen
now
to
it is
Punisher
on
this
your
week,
list.
but I have
Cut your
cried.
last album, Saoirse.
No, Punisher is not on my list of records I want to
It
talk
is
about.
now.
No, I've only talked about
Yes.
Get to Heaven so far. Anyway, I listened to 4 Mountain Goats records for reasons that I'm not going to list, but
What?
it was All Hail West Texas through to Get Lonely, which is like it is an insane run if you include Heretic Pride afterwards of like 5 records, which is just classic record after classic record.
Why were you startled?
Is Jake going to his toilet?
Is this the kind of toilet to you?
I mean,
No, for the bit.
maybe
The pineapple thief bit.
That's not my
You're
bit.
talking
That's
about the
Tyler's
fucking
bit.
album.
That's Tyler's bit, but you
Guys,
didn't steal the bit.
The
I don't know how
audience, the audience have no context.
I thought
I
we
don't know how
mentioned
they.
that.
I don't know how they do things in Nebraska, but generally people don't take shits in their kitchen sinks.
For context, I was joking about doing a bit when we talk about the pineapple thief where I just go and take a shit in the middle of my review. But I promise I'm not going to do that.
Part of me's hoping you still will.
What else I listened to? I listened to Oversteps by Orteka, which is now my favorite Orteka record.
Yeah, gang!
That's such a, I like that take, even though I don't agree with it, but like, it's such a surprising take that also retroactively makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I don't know. That really strikes me as a Jake and Saoirse take. I don't know why, but
God, there's so many other records.
Aw-tecker, best aw-tecker.
There's so many other records I listened to this week that I want to talk about that I can't. I listened to Bjork's Medulla, which is now my favorite Bjork record.
It's in my top Bjork records.
That's fair. Just God,
Medulla supremacy.
Bjork's attempts to take a cappella techniques and hello.
Morgan?
I'm sorry. You just said supremacy, and August went. And I was the only one who saw it.
It's because it's such a mid-Muse single.
Got him.
Yeah,
That's
You-
true.
you-
That's
agree.
absolutely true.
Don't ever. No.
Don't
No.
ever muse at me again.
I'm serious. Don't do that ever again.
I'm not listening to this.
That's fair. That's fair.
The thing about Muse's supremacy that always gets me is how when it goes into that heavy guitar riff, the drum line is out of sync, and they released it as a single.
It's still
Thing
like one
about-
of the
Job,
best songs on the
Matt.
album.
You did it.
The thing about Muse's supremacy that always gets me is that it sucks.
That's true. Anyway, with Medulla, it's got an up accent on the U, so I'm going to say Medulla.
Medulla oblongata.
On Medulla,
Whatever's in your throat out, Morgan.
he's got to rinse
Mind
his
your own business.
Medulla oblongata out. Anyway, what Bjork does to include a cappella techniques that are just from such isolated cultures and bring them together, not isolated, but such diverse cultures and bring them together, results in such a textural mishmash that you just get completely lost in the sensations of it. That's my take on Medulla.
Starts beatboxing meme.
Bjork's Medulla is basically just like listening to someone have an asthma attack for 50 minutes, and it rules.
An asthma attack.
Wow.
An
Yeah.
ASMR attack.
So what I'm gonna do is only have
Asthma.
You keep saying
It doesn't sound any different from the way you would say asthma.
Because you say it wrong in the US. You say asthma. Like
All
that.
right, Prison Island boy. You didn't invent English any more than we did.
We're both colonies, all right? Let's just get that through our head.
Okay. As the only English person on this chat, I'm gonna have a go at pronouncing it. Asthma.
There you go.
That's acceptable.
Yeah, well, the
Anyway,
English
Just as long
are,
as you
of
don't
course,
include a word that
notoriously
starts with a
bad.
vowel after that.
The
because for
British,
some
of
reason,
course,
you
are
people think-
notoriously bad at pronouncing words in their own language. So,
I mean, just so long as you don't put a word that starts with a vowel after it, because when you do that, British people just decide, and New Zealanders for the record, just decide to put an R in there. Asthma attack. Asthma attack.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, for my last one, what I'm going to do is I am not going to talk in depth about a single record, but I'm going to say the names of 4 in quick succession, all of which I gave a 9 to, out of 10. And it's Rain Dogs, To Pimp a Butterfly, Quebec, and Souvlaki.
Ooh, good selection.
Thank you.
Some good
I
G
think
core.
those are all albums I've given a 9 to as well. Actually, no, I gave a 10 to Quebec, but the others, I agree.
Oh, it's so good!
I mean,
Ah.
you should give Souvlaki a 10, but, you know, this is not easy. It's neither here nor there.
Look, it's one of those, like, first listens where it's like, I don't know exactly how strongly I feel about it yet, so I'm not going to commit.
No, that is totally fair.
Totally.
Stop
Hey,
saying totally.
I was
I'm
gonna
gonna-
say you're just gonna keep saying it so you can put off this fucking inevitable ass segment.
This
I know
is
you're
like
gonna do
the first Halloween film.
Wayne's Quebec.
Please go ahead and explain what the fuck that means.
They say totally a bunch in the first Halloween film in that opening dialogue bit. They say totally like 20 times.
That's a
Wayne's
strange
Quebec
thing to
is an
notice.
album that I gave a 10 out of 10 to.
Wait, Queen's Quebec? They did an album called Quebec?
Wayne's Quebec is an album I gave a 10 out of 10 to. The instant that whichever one sings, Gene or Dean, I don't know which one sings, but when he sings the line, the checks all bounced and I came in your mouth.
That's on the last track, and it was
it-
just so good.
And that song is like one of their best songs as well, that closing track.
Oh god. But literally, as soon as the album started, and it was like, because I loved the Mollusk a lot, but when it started and it was like punk rock in the first track,
The first
and
track,
then it
straight
just
punk.
went to so many other places. Like, the Mollusk is ambitious on like a narrative level, but Quebec just tackles so many sounds. It's just so good.
Yeah, agree. Okay, I will do my part of the segment then, and I'll try and be quick.
I'm glad we're able to have fun.
Yeah, isn't it nice?
Yeah, I think that's what we're letting a bit looser on the reins today because, well,
I mean, I was legitimately not going to say anything because, like, I don't want to talk about these either, so I'm going to let people have fun.
I do want to say I listened to 3 albums this week that are straight Morgan core. I actually think 2 of them are also Jake core.
Well, that's the same thing.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
I don't know if Jake's heard this first one, but the first one I listened to that I really loved was Full Collapse by Thursday.
oh yeah, that's on the
which
list.
Is just like an emo classic, basically. So good. Just goes impossibly hard. And like there's a string of I think like 5 or 6 tracks in like the first half of that, which are like, okay, these are just perfect songs. Fine. And then the rest of the album is still really, really good too. Very close to giving it a 10 out of 10. I also listened to Stephen Wilson's The Raven That Refused to Sing, Parentheses and Other Stories. Very good. It's not Stephen doing anything particularly new at this point in his career, but it is him doing the stuff he does well. like as well as he's ever done it. And it's really,
Absolutely.
really, really great. And I really enjoyed it. And the title track in particular, I thought is one of the best pieces of music he's made in any project. So yeah,
If I
that was
may
awesome.
make a quick comment. I
Please.
cannot wait to send the video of Morgan dabbing and dancing in front of the word mid to anyone who recommends me music.
That's perfect.
Pretty
I
good.
can't wait.
That's-
I want it myself.
That's pretty good.
We need to have like at least one from now on. At least one iconic GIF per episode.
Yep.
We've already had the one of me going like.
That's it.
Well, that's
that's-
another
I-
gift too.
I still can't best that. I'm never gonna best that GIF.
I
Yeah.
don't think anyone is.
So anyway, third
Nib-
album I
Nib
want to
is
shout
pretty
out is
Wait, Jake has become Requiem for a Dream and it's troubling me.
Because I opened a refrigerator?
No, it's the camera in front that moves.
Oh.
Oh yeah.
Oh no.
Matthew Libertique type beat.
That's
So
part
yeah,
of that film.
third album I want to shout out, and the first of two straight strong teens that I gave this week is Opeth's Blackwater Park.
Woo!
Yep. Holy shit.
It's produced by Steven Wilson.
Produced by Steven Wilson. Yeah, you could see I was on kind of a kick this week. God damn. Like, I don't have as much to say about this album as I had to say about Still Life, and I think I probably, even though they're both 10 out of 10 records, I probably narrowly prefer Still Life because at least,
Yeah.
I don't know if Blackwater Park has a narrative. I presume it does, but I wasn't able to pick up on it as instantly as I was with Still Life. But musically, they're both fucking impeccable.
Yeah, Blackwater Park isn't a concept album as a whole.
Right.
No, the concept is that it's good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
it
concept
just-
is that it's the best metal record of all time.
It's really, really special, and I really loved it. It went impossibly hard. Like, it just opens with the Leper Affinity, which is just the top 3 Opeth track, I think, for me.
Yep.
So good, and then by the time that it all kind of comes full circle with that insane title track at the end, I've only listened to it once. I need to spend more time with it so I can kind of distinguish the different sections of it more, but I know I just have like a flood of 10 out of 10 ratings for most of the songs on it. So
Can we just forego this episode and have a Blackwater Park listening party?
I mean, I would do that anytime, seriously. But yeah,
Oh, yeah. Just
that
fucking
was
go.
that was really sensational. Another 10 out of 10 record I listened to, a live album, King Crimson's Absent Lovers, live in Montreal, 1984. So I re-listened to their 3 80s records, Discipline, Beat, and 3 of a Perfect Pair, just to prep for this, because this live album is basically almost entirely just material from those 3 records. And as the consensus goes with this live record, pretty much everything they perform is improved orders of magnitude from the album versions. Even the great stuff on Discipline, which is still a really fantastic album, sounds even better here. In fact, album standout Fela Hun Ginjit, the live version of this song is just holy god damn, that's hard. And so am I.
Good ass song.
Good industrial metal track.
Yeah, but like,
I'm gonna fucking throw my goddamn
it's so,
computer,
and like
swear to God.
Adrian Belew, I've always kind of been Adrian Belew's obviously a phenomenal guitarist. I've always kind of been up and down on him as a vocalist, but like he fully
Yeah, that's fair.
carries this whole 100-minute live record, and it's so awesome to listen to. It's a lot of fun. People don't quite appreciate when you think of like Robert Fripp as this kind of maniacal, incredibly detail-oriented like producer and songwriter. People overlook how much fun King Crimson are at their best, and this is probably behind Red. This is probably my second favorite release of King Crimson's in any format. It just is like pure fire from start to finish.
Their
and
80s
also-
run is phenomenally fun.
And also, they do a live version of Lark's Tongues and Aspic Part 2, which is maybe the greatest piece of of rock music I've ever heard on a live album. It's just stupid how good it is. Yeah, so that's 4 albums I listened to. So I will pick one more to round out the 5, although it will be a re-listen because those were the only notable new listens this week. But I also will shout out, which one am I going to shout out? I'll shout out Flying Lotus's Cosmogramma, which I
good album.
revisited this week, and I've heard it before, but like when I had heard it, I wasn't quite like as well versed in like electronic music as I am now. But even then I liked it, and now it was like, okay, shut up, fuck you. How do you make something this good? And I know
Mr. Lotus.
I know this section for me today has just been like pure hyperbole, but that's because I have 5 insanely good albums to talk about, and we have a fucking wasteland after this.
Tyler, don't apologize for having strong feelings. I cherish it. I truly do.
Yeah. But anyway, Cosmogramma is one of the most significant works of electronic music of the last 10 years.
I listened to that this week as well.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it a lot.
It's incredibly masterful, and like coming back to it after a few years with a little more appreciation for where it was coming from and the influence it had, it just hit like a ton of bricks as well. How incredibly impressive it is in terms of the way that it's constructed and the immediate effect it has on you in terms of how hard hitting it is musically. Really good stuff. Yeah, and so that's my 5 albums.
Okay, so
Fuck.
now look, as the person with the history of the band,
Just saw I just saw like that screen that said mid, and then a dog just emerged from it, and then Morgan after that.
No, please, Saoirse, tell us about the bottoms.
Yeah.
front
Tell
bottom.
us about the front bums.
Which,
Tell us about the butt
fun
fucks.
fact, my dad had to tell this to me, by the way. The front bottoms is actually slang for a priest's dick. Last time I heard.
I thought it was slang for a vagine.
It might be. Actually, that made more sense. That's what my
Morgan's
dad
brain,
told
like
me.
trying very quickly to decide which variation of the word vagina he's going to use.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of my least favorite words. I prefer almost every variation on that word to the scientific
What
term
about?
itself.
Come on, you can't prefer foo-foo.
Well, considering that I've never heard it before, yeah,
Well,
Oh,
safe,
God. This
safe
is,
to say.
This is grandma sucking eggs all over again.
Jake looks despairing.
yeah.
I mean, it's horrific.
Anyway, the Front Bottoms, very important band for my history.
Sorry, that's just like a funny sentence.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So, I discovered them just by like trawling my Spotify recommended playlists, and getting played the song "Twin Size Mattress" off
Good
Town of the
song.
Hawk. That was like then my sad boy anthem for the next 4 years. And being a Front Bottoms fan helped me make a load of friends at university that I wouldn't otherwise have had. Some of the best people in my life over mutual love of this band. I had a really close friend who's a close friend to this day who saw the Front Bottoms' first gig ever in the UK. And so I would say that why they were important in the early days is that they bridged the gap between the aesthetics of sort of what was happening in folk punk at the time with the emotional approach of what was happening in emo at the time. So yeah, a lot of very sad and angry teenagers had a way into the sound that they were doing on albums like their self-titled and Town of the Hawk, and with their EP Rosie, which is probably the best thing they've ever done. Even though I love their debut record and Town of the Hawk, they are not complete albums. They have filler. They are really always have been a band about a few good songs on a record. And in a way, I've always been wanting them to make a complete record of great music. Obviously, with the album Back on Top, moving away from the sort of emo stylings of their previous work into more happy sounding stuff. And then with Going Grey, we don't talk about Going Grey.
They ventured into making an exciting new turn in bad music.
Yes, exactly. So one could describe this album as an improvement in that it's mediocre. It is very frustrating because I was very, very excited after having been really bummed out by Going Grey. And you know, Back on Top, it's not a fan favorite, but I like it a bunch. And then the single Montgomery Forever dropped, which I think is the single great song on this record. And that is what you release as a lead single when the rest of it isn't lead single worthy, because you have this one great song. And I was duped by it because I heard it and it was really good. And I was like, maybe this album will be a return to form. And it's a return to the sound they were doing beforehand, with more electronic influences, with more electric guitars, with more sound effects, very obnoxious sound effects, and more synthy interludes. There's, at the end of Montgomery Forever, you have like a jazz pastiche, like a lounge jazz pastiche, which I found strange. But that's the thing really about it. And they are trying so hard to sound like what you liked about them the first time that they actually forgot to write good songs.
Right. And it's interesting you say they're trying to sound so much like why you liked them in the first place, because that means I have an interesting perspective here, because this was my first exposure to the Front Bums, who I am going to refer to explicitly as the Front Bums.
As it was my first exposure to.
So yeah, I have a different kind of perspective then, or a different kind of approach to their music, because I don't know what Back on the Bottom or whatever it's called sounds like. I don't know what the Talons of the Hawk sound like. I don't know what I don't know that stuff, but I do know that this album is fine. It's fine. I actually will say I listened to it twice and actually liked it more the second time. I think that it doesn't have as many songs that are like not good as I kind of expected it to for a record this long. Like, I think that it maintains a solid consistency of fine. And then I think there are moments on the record where it does go above just being purely fine to being actually kind of not like super interesting in a way that stands out, but like pleasant in a way that's, I don't know, I enjoy coming back to. Like, for example, I really dig, I think the first 3 tracks here, I think are quite strong. I really like the opening track, Everyone Blooms. And I think the second track, Camouflage, is even better. And then there's a little bit of experimentation on the third track, Jerk. It sounds a bit weird, but it's in a way that kind of, I think, works for the song. And whereas like the weirdness of a song like fucking, what's it called? Bus Beat, for example, just falls flat completely.
Yeah, the back end of this record is really where I have problems with it, because for the first
time starts to show in the back half.
I would agree with you that it starts way more strongly. I think Everyone Blooms is like a fine song. I think, but knowing that they wrote a song as good as Twin Size Mattress makes me think like but at the same time, I think the first 2 are fine. I find Jerk incredibly annoying.
I hate it so much.
Yeah, it's not particularly good.
I even think on the first track, Everyone Blooms, like they almost bring in like a glam meets melancholy and the infinite sadness kind of influence on some of the guitar notes with the electric guitar leads. I can see the puzzle work, so I'm not going to back down. I also think The Hard Way is a pretty good song.
I like that track too.
But Fairbanks, Alaska is just really boring and very overproduced. Love at First Sight is really, really boring. and just
Yeah, I like the way I like Leaf Pile and the way it goes into the terribly titled New Song D. I think those are all right, but then I do think that basically the record kind of trails off from that point. Again, like I don't think they're great songs. I just think that they were surprisingly pleasant. And this is very much like a fueled by Ramen band. Like you can hear that straight away, and the vocal delivery and the tone. And all I would say is like it reminded me a lot. Frequently, the vocal delivery reminded me a lot, and this may just be for lack of adequate comparison. Reminded me a lot of their more famous label mates, 21 Pilots, except with a lot more kind of focus in what they wanted to do and a lot less pretension than that.
I was going to say a little bit more charm than them.
Yeah, for sure. And I think they have got some good songs as well. I would consider some of their stuff to be a guilty pleasure, but I also think that they get quite grating frequently. Whereas there's only a couple songs here that actively grate on me, and they're both kind of buried in the back half of the record anyway, so it doesn't bug me too much.
Yeah, I would compare them to a different Fueled by Raymond band, being All Time Low, actually. Who, of course,
there's no need to be that mean.
No. Purely in a trajectory after a certain point. Because you look at the history of All Time Low, obviously, not obviously, I'm probably the only one who cares about this.
I was going to say, I'm sorry, but I don't really know anything about All
Well, it's
Time
like
Low.
major label debut with Dirty Work, which they hated, moved over to Fueled by Ramen, made Don't Panic, which is my favorite All Time Low record, and then proceeded to incorporate more and more pop aesthetics in their music.
Yeah, I think
which is exactly what's happened with the Front Bottoms on that label.
From my understanding of the trajectory of this band, I think obviously this is definitely an attempt at course correction after their last record, just an attempt to remind people, who they are as a band, and and show that they're kind of aware of their limitations in a sense. So it is a kind of a safe record, but at the same time, like they're playing to their strengths. It's just that they don't have like amazingly interesting strengths at this point in their career, but they are still playing to them. And it's a safe record, but it sounds like after their last record, that safe was probably a decent move for them. So look, I found it exceedingly pleasant. It's not going to have a lot of staying power. I'm probably not going to come back to it very much, if at all. But I will say that I did enjoy, for the most part, the time I had listening to it. And certainly it would have helped that I had very low expectations of this band. I don't really know why. I just did. And they were exceeded. So props to them for that.
Well, I can't really say much more because, like Tyler, I also think that this record is fine. I think it is pleasant. I did not want to turn it off at any point. In many respects, I'll try and be a little nice to it in the sense that I think the album has enough energy to carry itself through its runtime. I didn't find, again, I listened to this in conjunction with some of the other records we're talking about today. So, in comparison, it really benefited. It did nothing but benefit truly from these back-to-back listens. But I am, even when the album was grating on me a tiny bit with songs like Jerk or Bus Beat, I was like, okay, I don't like this, but it's an idea. That's nice. And the songs don't last a particularly long time. Occasionally there's a decent hook or bit of witty lyricism where I'm just like, a band is trying. I get it. That's nice. I like their off-kilter approach to songwriting. It's a very cheeky band. They're clearly having a good time, fun. What the fuck is so goddamn funny, Tyler?
No, just the word cheeky has always been funny to me.
Oh, because it's a bottom?
I don't follow.
Well, I think the record is just fine. I think that honestly Tyler said it best when it's like, this is a fueled by a ramen band, and if you know, that means exactly what you think it means, and if you listen to like the first,
if you dig Fueled by Ramen, the Fueled by Ramen aesthetic, you'll probably like this album.
and I think that there's occasional, like, they try to have these electronic flourishes on the album that they don't appear like super often. They're usually like the beginning or end of songs, or like just sort of a weird moment, and they stick out, but they don't really ever cross the line into being like bad or in poor taste. Just kind of like, oh, that was okay. And then the song just sort of proceeds, and it's got energy, and I'm okay with that. I think the album has a bit of a lull in the middle, specifically. I think it starts off pretty well. I like Everyone Blooms. I like Camouflage. Jerk is not a great song. It's kind of grating. But the sort of The Hard Way and New Song D and Love at First Sight just sort of make the, like, B to C side of this album a little bit like, okay, it's a bit more uneven, but like, you know, I think it ends strongly enough with Make Way. I think Fairbanks, Alaska is pretty good. I like Montgomery Forever, and yeah, it's fine. It's punky. It's pretty bright sounding. It's fun in doses. It's not long. It doesn't really overstay its welcome. It's fine. It's perfectly good, listenable music that I wouldn't call mediocre, just because you can tell that there was passion put into it. Not a terrible amount. This isn't an ambitious record by any means, but it's just nice, and I'm just like, okay, it's cool, awesome, fine. Not a horrible way to spend 40-something minutes. It's good.
Okay.
Morgan leaves.
August is asleep and Morgan is gone. Oh,
okay. Review the front bottoms.
Why did you unfriended jump scare me? Why?
I am in school and I need whatever sleep I can get. So
fair.
Like the pineapple thief.
Yeah, that's a nice 45 minutes. Anyways, in sickness and in blame, I mean, if nothing else, I can say there's at least passion and energy put behind this, as has already been mentioned by like everyone else here. The writing of this album, the songs don't really do a whole lot for me. I mean, it's 52 minutes long, and it just goes on for, it feels that length. I was kind of bored by the end. It just, a lot of the songs annoyed the hell out of me, but the first half I didn't think was actually that bad. It was all right. I was like, you know what, these songs are fine enough, I can get into them, but then the second half just drags on, and the songs in that half feel like 6 hours long. But overall, I mean, it's not something I'm mad at in like any respect. I'm like, yeah, this is what I expected from this. I felt exactly how I would have guessed I would have felt. So
Yeah.
I think I can't. I'm not mad. I'm just like, yeah, it's fine. It's not for me.
One takeaway I'll add is also, like, if you're gonna make a try and make a return to form record, or a back to basics record, or a like play to your strengths record, and you're like a folky punky band, you do not make it 53 minutes long.
No,
It's so long.
Yeah.
no.
That's
You should make it 35 minutes long.
That's the most
40 at the most.
damning part of this thing.
And
Like,
you go back and look at their best records, they are that length, you know?
Yep.
Shocking.
yeah, it's just too long for me as someone who has just no context for any of this.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I think with some precise editing, I still wouldn't love this album, but I would at least get more out of it. So it's not like whatever. I don't.
Morgan, what do you
Yeah.
think? Anything to add?
My thoughts align almost exactly with Jake and Tyler's. It is listenable music. It has some great moments. Well, I don't know if anything I'd call great, but it has some
Good.
really good moments. This the most nagging feeling that I had while listening to the record was that this is music that should appeal directly to me, and it just really doesn't. It's just fine. And that's really probably the most damning thing I could say about it. Is just that it's hardwired for people like me with my sensibilities towards songwriting, and I just get nothing, really.
Yep.
It's fine. It's music. It's listenable.
Mhm.
You can listen to it.
Well, favorite tracks and ratings. Just to get this over with.
Yeah.
Jake, do you want to go first?
Get through this episode.
Favorite tracks: Everyone Blooms, Camouflage, and Montgomery Forever. And least favorite track, the fucking Jerk. Why not? And I'd give it a light 6.
Very good.
Nice.
August.
Favorite tracks would be the same 3 as Jake's. Least favorite track would be Fairbanks, Alaska. I guess I'd give it like a 4.5.
Cool.
Fair enough.
Morgan.
Same 3 tracks, different order. I'd probably put Montgomery Forever first, but after that, who gives a shit? My least favorite is Jerk. Hate that song. It's bad. The hook sucks. 5.5 out of 10.
Yeah, it's not just that the hook on Jerk sucks, it's that it's the whole chorus.
Yeah.
Just again and again and again.
It's like, you guys can write more than one line for a chorus, right? Like, you do know that. And
it's like the gag we did on the Against Me episode for New Wave.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Look, the thing about Jerk is that you're basically right that the hook sucks, but like it's also one of the few songs that has like texturally interesting variation. So it's like kind of infuriating in the sense that I like the textural variation they go for on this song, but it's just in service of a not one of the better hooks. But I do still like the song overall. And to me, there's like an easy standout for worst song that I'm going to be very surprised if no one mentions.
Well, look, The Joke is my least favorite song on the record.
Okay, it's just going to be me then. Okay,
I'm sorry. I also enjoyed, of course, like Everyone Blooms, and I enjoyed The Hard Way. Montgomery Forever is, I'm going to come back to that track because I do love it, but it is the only one I'm ever going to come back to on the whole record, and I'm giving it a 6.
Cool. Yeah, I concur that Montgomery Forever is a great song. It's easily my favorite. In fact, I have the same top 3 as most of you. The first 2 songs and then that one. My least favorite, though, I think Bus Beat is one of the worst songs I have heard all year.
I mean, it's very bad.
Yeah,
bad.
no, it's not good.
But yeah, I get that. I definitely understand the hate for Jerk, even if I like that song
I'm
a
not
fair
going
bit
to
more.
fight you there.
I'll give the album a 6 also.
Wow, fab.
A very mid album.
Yeah,
The
I just want to say, I just realized that the last time I gave a record on this podcast above an 8, it was Punisher by Phoebe Bridgers.
Jesus
Well.
Christ.
Yeah,
No,
Sophie,
you gave Boris a better rating than that, didn't you?
I gave Boris a 7.5.
7.5. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Sophie's
Yeah.
been rough. Just that string of
Above an 8,
great
though.
albums like that
You
we
did
did
give-
like early on, where it was
Yeah.
like Jeff Rosenstock, Run the Jewels, Black Dresses, Phoebe Bridgers, Glacier Flower, all in a
Yep.
row. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
God, that
nice.
was nice.
We
What would I-
started off this
Yeah.
podcast with like I know you guys didn't really care for Charlie XCX, but then we had like Jason Isbell and Perfume Genius and fucking and then Jeff Rosenstock.
We had real musicians, real musical artists who make
What?
music.
You say that, but what I wouldn't give to review another Glacier Flower record. Like,
Yeah, I'm so excited for Glacier Flower 21, even though it's probably like really early days. I'm still very excited for that.
It's got the songs in the works for it, is what I would say.
Yay. Okay, well look, let's move on then.
yeah,
All right.
debatably
Jake, did
better
you
record
wanna
than what we're about to
introduce
talk
this
about.
next album?
All right,
Jake.
so I would like to start off this segment by issuing a formal apology to Saoirse. And the reason I want to apologize to Saoirse is very, very distinct here.
Okay.
In that we have been ragging on behind the scenes on the fact that Saoirse has chosen the front bottoms for this particular episode, maybe since we started the schedule for the podcast. Like we just continually made just be like, front bottoms, what a stupid name, probably a bad band, and that's why none of us were looking forward to this. And then she also recommends The Violent Femmes, which is the album we're going to talk about later. And, you know, that record's that record. And this record is here because I put it here. Because
Fool.
The Pineapple Thief is a band I have heard talked about and compared to many of my favorite bands and the recommended tabs on things like Sputnik Music, to Steven Wilson, Porcupine Tree, Opeth, that kind of shit. So naturally, when they were coming out with a new record, and because longtime progressive rock drummer extraordinaire Gavin Harrison of King Crimson and Porcupine Tree joined the band, not too relatively they've been making music since the late 90s, but he joined in 2000
15, 16.
15.
The first record he was on was Your Wilderness, and I think that was released in 2016.
Yes. And so, he's one of the best drummers to ever live, and
He's probably the best drummer alive.
So naturally, I was interested in just be like, oh yeah, we should totally cover this. And it got this is getting pretty decent reviews and whatnot. They have a lot of records that are decently highly rated that I have checked out, and I have liked a couple of those. And then we have this album, and no.
Let's actually talk about the record now. For a little bit anyway.
Let's do our fucking best to do that.
Sufficient enough to explain why we just did that. So
I accept your apology, by the way, Jake. Thank you.
That look, the last part that was a bit, but the apology is totally genuine. And let me just okay. This record, its biggest problem is that it doesn't sound like fucking anything. It's it is mixed so quietly. Just the whole album. There's no edge. There's no sound. It's just you're just listening to the instruments happen. There's no rhyme or reason to the way that they hit your ears. There's no thought put into this. It's all just evenly mixed pleasantly, and it's in the track. And for some fucking reason, you have Gavin Harrison drumming in your band in the year of our Lord 2020, and you have him do nothing. Not there's not a drum fill on this record where I was just yeah, that's good. No, it's not present.
My memory is a little fuzzy, but I think you could have just stopped at there is not a drum fill on this record.
That's also the other part of this, is that this album, if I had to point what the singular biggest problem is here, it's that the vocal delivery is the same.
the whole album, the performance doesn't elevate. It is the same vocal delivery, and it's just a guy trying to sound like Steven Wilson. And it's the whole time, and he's just whispering, and it's just and uttering these absolutely inane, fucking vague isms of lyrics that are like about fucking struggling or some shit, some fucking vague bullshit that doesn't fucking matter because an album called Versions of the Truth is not going to hold any deep-seated struggles that the band members went through.
Do you want to know what's really funny? Is
What?
the first few tracks, it's probably not really funny, but I find it funny. The first few tracks, at least, that's like all I can remember words from, are so eminently about like a really nasty breakup. Where it's like, if this had happened to Brian of the Front Bottoms, they would have released their best album ever off of it.
I think that
he does.
could be said about many things. And that's the thing, is that a lot of these song titles, you have songs like Break It All, Demons, Driving Like Maniacs, Too Many Voices. These are song titles that might indicate some sort of surge in energy of someone. No, it's all sounds the same. And yes, the playing's competent. Yes, everything is like meeting the minimum requirements that one can be met to be considered progressive rock music. But there is nothing progressive about this. This is the most boilerplate shit. You can't even call it progressive because there's nothing being progressed here. It is a pastiche that sounds like a bunch of bands from the 90s who were trying to blend alt rock and prog rock and doing it in the most boring way possible. And then you have Stop Making Sense at the end of this album, which is really offensive to me because we all watched Stop Making Sense last week, which was a joyous, glorious experience that I treasure deeply because that's such a fun and energetic film that's filled with life and sound and just it's fun, okay? And then this song is just like, here's every other song, here's a xylophone. Fuck you. That's my review. Bad.
Well, I mean, I would compare this to elevator music, but I genuinely think that elevator music has more personality. I mean, it's at least identifiable as elevator music. When I turn this on, I what am I listening to? What is this? It sounds like a computer made it, but like
auto-generated prog.
it's just there's no. The problem with the Pineapple Thief record that I have heard is that it was just wandering in search of a personality, even when the songs were good. And this is that problem amplified to 11. There's just nothing here to latch on to. It's just the same mid-tempo, boring-ass shit.
God, the fucking mid-tempo-ness of this album. It just refused to pick up pace.
Okay.
I was concerned that the Front Bottoms record was going to be a real pain in the ass because it's like 10 minutes longer than this.
Yeah.
And this somehow felt like the length of your average Burial compilation.
No, this doesn't feel like the length of an album. This feels like a really bad colonoscopy.
Yeah.
Uncut Gems.
I've had a
type
colonoscopy. I got ice cream after the colonoscopy. I got no ice cream after this.
I listened to this Pineapple Thief album and all I got was fucking nothing.
Yeah. Nothing.
Yeah, so I will say a few things, not very much.
I listened to this Pineapple Thief album and all I got was drunk.
I've expounded on this podcast in the past about how the worst kind of music to me is music that doesn't do anything. Even worse than music that does bad things. And to me, I find this album offensive. I'm genuinely offended when I listen to it because I am aware of the talent that is involved and I am aware of the talent that is being squandered. And I'm offended that it exists. I'm offended. I can feel seeping off of this. I mean, privilege is probably not the right word, but I can feel seeping off of this, the feeling that these are seasoned musicians who can basically release anything they want, and there will be an audience for it who are interested in it. I am offended that we have fallen into this trap of being taken in by people who have, at least one person anyway, who's made music or contributed towards music that we love, who we know is talented, who has produced and attached their name to this. I'm offended that we have to discuss this, even though that is not really a fault of the record, but it is intrinsic to, I think, why it exists, like I've said, which is to get attention and interest from people who have an emotional and personal attachment to relate to music that is related to it. And I'm offended that this basically shits all over us because it lacks any of the compelling elements of any of those other bands that it allegedly takes from or is allegedly associated with. I'm offended that this band has the worst fucking name of any band I've ever heard in my life and the most nondescript album title you could possibly imagine, because it's not an album title that's so bland it stands out to you how bland it is and it's like, okay, that's a really bad album title. It's an album title that is so bland you forget it exists every 2 seconds while you're thinking about the album. I'm offended that I'm so offended. And this is the most singularly unpleasant experience I've had with a new release this year, which is saying something.
Bad.
I do feel like we say that every couple of weeks.
Well,
It's like,
That's
for fuck's
especially
sake.
why I'm pissed
I mean-
off, because I have said that a lot. But this, it feels like we keep finding a new bar for me to, for music that, in my opinion, to kind of just slink underneath.
I'm feeling a lot more secure about my defense of Lamb of God now.
You know what? Fair
I
enough.
would listen to Lamb of God self-titled a million times before I will listen to this again.
I swear to
Well, that
God.
album has impact and riffs and like stuff in it.
Well, like they have
Jesus.
some, even if you think it is obnoxious, which I get, they are saying a thing that they set out to say.
Yep.
It's
Sure
also a record that's got moments that even if you think it sucks are so funny you can actually enjoy them. Like the thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dude,
yes.
I swear to God, if the Flaming Lips record next week is anything less than great or terrible, I'm going to lose my mind.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Okay, well, that's
Pretty good.
something.
We'll see.
You're good.
We will see. But yeah. But Pineapple Thief, retire, bitch.
The way in which you said retire, bitch.
Well, I just want, like, imagine the scene from 3 Billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri, where it's like the drummer from King Crimson and Pineapple Thief, and Porcupine Tree, and still no good records. How come, Pineapple Thief?
How come, Gavin Harrison? 1 record, 12 tracks, no drum fills.
Right, I feel like this is a good time to leap into the discussion.
Oh, yeah.
Because I agree that listening to this album is the meme of dies from mid. Because it's not like there is anything on this record that I would consider poorly made. But like it's adequate, and yes,
Functional.
it is adequate, and yes, I want to fall asleep listening to it.
See,
It is
see,
functional,
I had
yet it
this- I had a-
serves no function.
Look, I had a thought process while I was listening to this about this notion of like, yeah, it's adequate. And I'm like, I was really examining that. Like, okay, fine. If it's adequate, if it's fine, if it's, you know, inoffensive or whatever, like, then what does that reflect? Like, what is it adequately doing? And it's not doing a single thing. So I can't even call it
Nothing.
mid or fine or adequate because it's a failure. It sucks. And it's
I
not
mean,
like, 'cause we're so used to music sucking in a particular sense where it's like, oh, wow, like it's really jumping out at you. Like this is just poorly imagined and conceived and really misguided. But I think that the real stuff that poisons the musical landscape is and just contributes to the trash heap of saturated content that is all over the internet in this age that we have is stuff like this, which seeps its way into the landscape and just fills up space.
I
This is
agree.
This is the Iron Man 2 of albums.
I agree with everything you said, Tyler, and to build off of it, I have just put out an EP that took just an EP of 10 minutes that took a lot of pain, emotional pain to record. It is probably the most personal thing I will ever make, and it's 10 minutes long. And even then, like with the other EP I put out, that both of them are a testament to the fact that even though they are short, any record of any length of any form, it is a miracle to exist. And it takes a lot of work to make happen. So I listened to this record and I'm just like, why did you bother?
I mean, what did they intend to express?
Exactly. Like,
Saoirse, may I make a brief interjection
Sure,
regarding
go.
your EP?
Thank
Your
you.
EP versus this album. This album, I can't really point to like anything that it does specifically. But your EP, I can point to things I love. I can point to things I'm not crazy about. But because of that, I have such like a magnitude more of emotional response to that, because even if there are parts I don't like, it's still evoking an emotion from me. It's getting a feeling out of me. It's making me consider and think, how could have this been done better? When I listen to this, I'm like, could have this not been done at all?
Yeah.
Could this
Like,
happen to me?
One of the things you talked about on the EP was on the third track, where the last half is way quieter than the rest of the song, which you weren't crazy about, but it was a very intentional choice on my part. So I get where you're coming from, but we can have that conversation.
No, we can have that conversation, exactly. What conversation can we have about whatever this album is called?
Yeah, exactly.
So far, the only conversation that we can have is discussing the fact that we cannot discuss anything.
Like, I will not say that there aren't like interesting moments where I'm like, I can see you pushing at the amniotic fluid sack of your own mediocrity. Of like, especially to run Leave Me Be to Are My
Tyler, you all right there with that cookie?
a strong run.
Fuck the cookie.
Put the cookie down.
It was a struggle.
But like, I would just say,
got the cookie.
well done.
Not a puma.
I sat down to write notes about this, and this is what my notes for that 3-track stretch, where I say is the best 3-track stretch. This is what it looks like, and those are the song names.
I regret to inform you that I can't read that.
Well,
Which is
Does it matter? Does
I
it
regret to
actually
inform you
matter?
that I can't read.
the punchline is it's fucking blank.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's just like, I think these are the 3 best tracks on the record, and I can't remember a single fucking thing about them. And I sat down to actively make notes on them, and I wrote nothing.
I mean, I really did try with this. I just tried to have something to say about anything. No. It is a wasteland of creativity. It is music only in the sense that you can, in fact, listen to it.
Can you?
And you shouldn't, but you can.
Wait, you can hear it, but can you listen to it?
Okay.
You raise a fantastic
You know,
point.
Let's
you
get
know.
not here for the fucking sophical here.
People hearing without
If
listening. Better song than anything on this record.
If
Yeah!
a pineapple thief sucks in the middle of an empty forest, does it still suck without anybody to hear it?
Pineapple-
Answer yes.
The pineapple thief is so bad that I'm now pro cop so that someone can catch this thief.
Pineapple Thief is so bad that their song Demons is worse than the Imagine Dragons song Demons.
All right, I gotta get into Demons right now.
Please
because
do.
I gotta jump on this.
God,
Demons
you
has a
have an
lyric
ins-
that goes, I've got demons. You should know. You put them inside me. Is this about STDs? Like, what?
I'm baffled that you have an insight on a song.
I'm baffled.
I
that
am
you could,
too,
like,
believe you me.
retain a lyric from this album.
I only retained it because I wrote it down. And I had to rewind to remember it.
And now that you say it, I do remember going like, that is a terrible, terrible lyric. But like, if you hadn't said that just now, lost.
All I remember about the song "Too Many Voices" is that he says that too many voices, like 20 fucking times, and that's the song.
It's like, wow,
Would
you
you
have done
say-
it. There are in fact too many voices.
Would you say there are too many voices?
It just, at any rate,
Of course, I fucking would say that. It's what I just said.
Do you see this record here? This is Porcupine Tree's Light Bulb Sun. This is the album that this album so desperately wants to be. Listen to this instead.
Yeah.
For the love of
song,
God.
Every song on this album feels like it's desperately trying to be like the closer to Light Bulb Sun or like a good Porcupine Tree album. It's just like 45 minutes of that.
Tell you what, speaking of Porcupine Tree, this album is like every song tries to be glass arm shattering and fails.
Oh,
yeah.
I feel disgusting that you're even comparing that, but like you're right.
It's funny. It's funny that you hold up Light Bulb Sun for your Porcupine Tree record that you hold up, because Gavin Harrison does not play on that record.
Nope, he does not. And I did that intentionally.
You mean you made a
creative made a choice with purpose.
Gavin, you are nothing.
All right.
Wait, guys, picture the meme from Glee where it's like, I'm gonna create.
All right, I'm gonna stop you right there.
No.
What now?
You know the meme where it's like, I'm gonna create an environment so toxic.
Yeah.
I'm gonna create an album so mid.
I was going to say
the album's
James
so
and T
barren.
episode that's so toxic.
Yeah, but this isn't toxic. We're all in agreement that this blows the shit out of my ass.
They said, Pineapple Thief said, I'm going to create an album that's so mid that we make you hate Gavin Harrison. Which
Pineapple Tree said, they said something. I don't know what it was. Does this album even have lyrics? Like,
no!
Stop making sense is a bold statement from a band that need to start fucking making sense quickly if they want to fucking have anything interesting to say.
I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Well, speaking of awarding points, let's do our favorite tracks and ratings. Come on, we've been here long enough.
My favorite tracks are... My least favorite track is... I give the album a light 3.
So my favorite track is of course a particular space object originating from the Eastern Hemisphere. I wonder what that could be.
Does it perhaps orbit the Earth for the purpose of relaying information?
It does actually.
Okay.
Could it be a Chinese satellite?
That's it.
You said that like Jim Carrey. Oh yeah, mid gulps, nice. Well, see you later.
The thing is, I now have the nerdy voice in my head that is urging me to correct Morgan on specific scientific detail, and I hate it. So I'm not going to. But I want you to
don't.
You know what? Maybe if you did that, I might have beat your ass. So like, probably good that you did.
Anyways, this album I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 10.
Dang.
That's fair.
My favorite track is She's Moved On from Light Bulb Sun. My least favorite track is the one about demons because it's stupid as hell.
ST Demons.
I haven't had-
August, you have now got a great idea for a song parody that also no one will care about.
I'll care.
Is this, I'm a lot.
I won't.
I'm a lot drunk. I'm a lot drunker than I should be, but then I remember that I haven't eaten anything today, and I've just downed 2.5 beers that are fairly high in alcoholic content, and that's the most interesting thing that's happened to me all week.
Good stuff.
3 out of 10.
Fair enough. So my favorite tracks were Planet B, Mars for the Rich, and Organ Farmer.
Good run. Good run, that.
Exactly. And I'm going to give... Oh, my least favorite track was Self-Immolate. And
That's
I kind of like that one.
No. Self-Immolate's the best song on the album, Saoirse. Come on.
Okay, well, look, I can't say it's fucking Superbug or Hell. So, I don't know, Venusian 1. Fuck it.
That's a better pick.
That's a better least favorite
Yeah.
song.
Could be
Okay.
Venusian too, but
My favorite track is Planets, and my least favorite track is It Was a Monstering. Oh, wait, that's next week.
Oh, shit.
Shit.
I'm going to be a bit nicer and give it a 5, but you guys are right.
Okay.
I'm aware.
My favorite tracks are Frantic. Faint
Frantic,
Anger.
tick, tock.
I laughed mostly because you could have been dead serious and I wouldn't have known one way or another. Were it not for the fact that we recently covered Metallica Saint Anger, it would have passed me by completely.
By the way, that's an amazing... I was the only person here not on that episode. It is amazing. Please go listen to it.
And my least favorite track is Invisible Kid. And I'm going to give this album... I think you're forgetting how numbers work. This album gets a 0.5 from me.
Holy shit!
It's a first one!
That's not a 1!
It's a
That's
That's
sub
a
one.
fucking half of 1!
Oh
If
my
you
God,
don't
it's our
get
first
why I
one.
said that, go back and listen to what I said. Because I said it.
I understand why you said it. I get... But that's our first lowest score.
That's true.
I mean, I've given ones
just-
before.
Did I
Yeah,
not
no,
give
but-
a Celebration of Endings a 1?
No, but this
Give
is
it a 1.5.
This is a 0.5, you know?
But look,
like...
just a
This
little,
is
bit,
too-
a
that's
little
too
bit more
generous.
context, right? So I gave a 1 to Skeleton Coast, and I thought about that because I've established that rating now, and I thought, well, look, at least like that album is a void of basically anything interesting. But like, I don't know, I still think it's better than this.
It's like an energetic void.
Yeah, sure, why not?
Absolutely.
It's a void that
Um,
tried.
No, again, it's not a 1. I take that statement back. Of course, it's not a 1.
It is a 0.5. Yeah, this album
yeah.
is, like I said, I'm offended.
Yeah, no,
in the,
but
in the
I'm
words
proud
of
of
Drake,
you.
I'm upset.
I'm proud of you for setting this bar.
It's just I hate the Biffy album and the Green Day album more than this. But like yeah.
There's at least something in those albums where you can
Stephen
kind of hear
Wilson.
the seeds of something that you once loved, even though they've been squashed and the soil has been salted. But here you don't hear the seeds of anything. In fact, the only seed of anything nice you hear here is the presence of Gavin Harrison, which actually I hate because it just reminds me of how badly that is squandered. So
Honestly, if Gavin Harrison did not in fact play drums on this album, I mean, I wouldn't have known. There's nothing to
No.
indicate that a good drummer did in fact play.
yes.
This album does not have its anesthetize where you're just like, whoa, that's
Of course it doesn't have a
amazing.
fucking anesthetize. You fucking
It doesn't have anything for that.
Yeah, it's
It
fair.
anesthetizes
even
me
have a-
to music.
It doesn't even have an On the Sunday of Life.
The Middest album.
Yes.
All right.
Anyway,
So
yeah.
let's wrap this
Right.
up.
So we're gonna go and do our Violent Femmes review now, which should also be up. Please go and watch
Yeah.
that. separately. And then next week we'll be reviewing Everything's Reanimator, The Flaming Lips' American Head, and our record club choice for next week, which is my choice, which is XTC's English Settlement. I promise that regardless of whether, even if people hate one of those albums, there will still be a better episode than this one.
Yep.
Which I think
we did a good job at what we had.
Yeah.
There will still be
All right.
more substance in that episode. Anyway, I'm fucking
Rock over London. Rock on
Chicago.
Chicago. Porcupine Tree. Fuck you, Gavin Harrison.